In this lecture, let's go ahead and learn how to use props in a class-based component. So whenever you have a class-based component, you could also pass in props to that specific component as well. And the way to do that is a little bit different. So what we have to do here is that first of all, we have to create a class-based component, but fortunately we already have a class-based component called as message. If you want, you could create another component of your own. That would be a good practice. So create a class-based component. If you don't want to, just use the message.js component which we have up over here. And once that is created, I simply have to import that component which we already did over here. And now I simply have to use that component here by calling in message, and that component would be rendered over here on our page, which is all fine and good. Now the question is how to pass some attributes to this specific component. So here to this specific message component, let's say I want to pass in a dynamic message content. So I would create a attribute here called as message content. And let's say I want to say something like this is a message from props. Let's say it that way. Now the question is how exactly would you go ahead and access this particular message content prop inside the component itself? And the answer to that is quite simple. You simply have to go ahead, go inside the JSX code, and you need to say something like this dot props dot the actual attribute, which in this case is message content. So if you simply do that, you will now be able to access props here. And let's actually change this thing to message here. And if I go to the browser, as you can see, this says that this is a message from props. So the only thing which you had to do here in order to access props is that you have to use this keyword here, because this is not a function but instead it's a class, and whenever you want to refer to the current instance of the class, you make use of this keyword. So this dot props dot message content would give access to that particular attribute. Now similarly, what you could do is that you could also pass in another attribute as well. So let's say along with this message, you need to pass in attribute called as message code. Let's say I want to set its value to 10 here. And if I want to access that message code, I could simply say this dot props dot message code. If I do that, I should be able to access that message code over here. So this is how exactly you could pass in props in a class-based component. So I hope this simple example gave you an idea about how to use props in a class-based component. So right now we have only learned how to get access to those props, but we have not yet learned what exactly we could do with these props which are received. So now in the upcoming lecture, we will take a look at a small drawback with using props, and we will also try to understand how to overcome that drawback by using something other than props. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.